When a woman hugs you first, it is not affection, it is not friendliness, and it is definitely not accidental. It is a moment of vulnerability, and vulnerability is where female desire begins. Most men never understand this because men are taught to look for words. Women communicate through states. A woman does not touch a man unless her body has already answered a question her mind is still afraid to ask. And when she hugs you first, she has already crossed an emotional line inside herself. Let's talk about what that really means. Women are not careless with physical closeness, despite how social media portrays them, despite how men fantasize about them. A woman's body is her final boundary. She may talk freely, she may laugh, she may flirt, but touch is different. Touch exposes her nervous system. Touch reveals her emotional state. Touch makes a scene. So when a woman initiates a hug, she is not seeking comfort, she is offering access. And that access is fragile. This is where female vulnerability lies. A woman does not hug first unless she feels something she cannot control anymore, something warm, something familiar, something dangerous. Dangerous because closeness can lead to desire, and desire makes women feel exposed. This is why most women resist touch until they no longer can. When she steps into your space and wraps her arms around you, her body is saying what her voice is too afraid to admit. I feel drawn to you. I feel safe with you. I am letting you close enough to affect me. And this is where men usually ruin everything. Because men mistake vulnerability for permission. They think the hug is a green light to escalate aggressively, to sexualize the moment, to grab, to tighten, to dominate too early. But female desire does not work like that. A woman opens slowly and closes instantly. The hug is not an invitation to take. It is an invitation to hold, to contain her emotions without overwhelming them. Understand this deeply. Female sexuality is not about hunger. It is about surrender. And surrender only happens when she feels emotionally protected. When she hugs you first, she is testing whether you are safe enough to be desired, not nice, not polite, not friendly, safe enough to lose control around. That is a very different standard. Now let's talk about the darkness beneath this softness. Every woman carries a quiet fear, the fear of wanting someone more than they want her, the fear of being seen as needy, the fear of being touched and then emotionally abandoned. So when she initiates a hug, she is taking a risk. She is exposing her attachment. She is saying without words, please don't mishandle this. This is why the way she hugs matters. If her body melts into yours, if her breathing slows, if she lingers 1 second longer than necessary, that is not friendliness. That is her nervous system relaxing in your presence. Women do not relax around men they don't desire. They stay alert. They stay guarded. They stay distant. Relaxation is intimacy. And intimacy always precedes sexuality for women. Men often believe desire begins with lust. For women, desire begins with emotional safety. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Many women hug first because they are emotionally starving, not desperate, but deprived. Deprived of men who can stay grounded when closeness appears. She may be used to men pulling away emotionally, or becoming needy, or becoming sexually aggressive. So when she hugs you, she is asking a silent question. Can you stay steady while I soften? Most men fail this test. They either freeze because they are afraid of misreading the moment, or they overact because they are afraid of losing the opportunity. Both responses signal the same thing: emotional instability. And emotional instability kills female desire. Women crave depth, but they fear chaos. The man who understands female psychology does something very rare. He does nothing, yet everything. He receives the hug without grasping. He holds without tightening. He stays present without expectation. This creates tension, sexual tension, the kind that sits in silence. The kind that lingers long after the hug ends. Because the most erotic thing to a woman is not being chased, it is being held without being consumed. This is where darker female vulnerability appears. A woman wants to feel desired, but not devoured. She wants intensity, but not pressure. She wants closeness, but only if she can trust you not to disappear afterward. So when she hugs you first, she is standing at the edge of her own desire, and she is watching. Will you respect the moment, or will you try to control it? Men who understand this become unforgettable to women because they give women something rare, the freedom to want. Most men complain they are friend-zoned, but they never realize women don't friend-zone men, women emotions own men. An attraction either grows there or dies there. The hug was the doorway. What you do in that silence determines everything. This is only the beginning. Because the deeper truth is not about the hug itself, it is about what kind of man can handle a woman when she starts to open. What most men never realize is this A woman does not hug you first to feel closer. She hugs you first to see who you become when closeness appears. Because intimacy does not reveal desire. Intimacy reveals control. And women are deeply attracted to men who can control themselves when everything inside them wants more. Female sexuality is responsive. It awakens when she feels something solid beneath her emotions. So the hug is not about affection. It is a quiet test of masculine restraint. Let's go deeper. When a woman initiates a hug, her body is doing something her mind is still negotiating. She may not even be fully aware of why she did it. She just knows she needed to feel your presence, needed to feel your calm, needed to feel whether you could contain her energy. Without trying to own it, this is where sexual tension is born. Sexual tension is not created by touching more. It is created by stopping at the right moment. Most men believe escalation builds attraction, but for women, premature escalation destroys it because desire is not rushed, desire is allowed. When she hugs you, her nervous system is open. Her body is listening, her instincts are alert. She is feeling how you breathe, how you hold your frame, how quickly or slowly you respond. If you tighten your arms too fast, you signal hunger. If you pull away too quickly, you signal fear. Both make her feel unsafe. Women crave a man who can stay exactly where he is without collapsing inward or pushing outward. That balance is erotic. Here is the darker truth most men never heard. Women are aroused by emotional steadiness more than physical aggression. Aggression is easy, anyone can take. Restraint is rare, and rarity creates desire. A woman wants to feel that you could take control but choose not to. That choice tells her everything, because dominance without control is dangerous. But dominance with restraint feels intoxicating. This is why so many women feel drawn to men they cannot fully read. Men who don't rush to define the moment. Men who don't try to secure the outcome. Men who allow the tension to exist. The hug is where this tension lives. If she leans into you, she is surrendering a small part of herself. And surrender for a woman is deeply sensual. But surrender only continues if she feels you are strong enough to hold it. Now listen carefully. Female vulnerability is not loud, it is subtle. It hides behind softness. And softness is easily damaged. When she hugs you first, she is briefly stepping out of emotional armor. She is saying, I am not guarded right now. And your reaction determines whether she will ever do it again. Many men confuse patience with passivity. They think doing nothing means missing the moment. But in female psychology, how you wait matters more than what you do. Waiting while being present creates anticipation. Waiting while being grounded creates desire. Waiting while being calm creates trust. Trust is not romantic, trust is sexual. Because a woman cannot let go if she doesn't feel held psychologically. This is why women often say, I don't know why I'm attracted to him. What they mean is, he doesn't destabilize me. A woman lives in a world of emotional fluctuation, hormones, expectations, social pressure. What she longs for is something solid, something steady, something that doesn't react to every movement she makes. When you remain centered during her vulnerability, you become the anchor, and anchors are deeply erotic. Here is where intimacy deepens. If you allow the hug to end naturally, without clinging, without grabbing for more, she walks away with unfinished emotion. Unfinished emotion is powerful. It lingers. It follows her home. It plays in her mind. She begins to associate you with calm intensity. This is how desire grows without force. Women do not fall for men who chase moments. They fall for men who create space for their emotions to expand. Now let's talk about why this scares women. Female vulnerability carries risk. If she opens and you mishandle it, she doesn't just feel rejected, she feels exposed. So she watches closely. Does he become needy? Does he become arrogant? Does he try to control the pace? Or does he let her come forward again? The man who passes this test does not try to define the connection, he lets the connection define itself. And this patience signals something primal, confidence without desperation, confidence without urgency, confidence that doesn't need reassurance. That confidence invites a woman to step further into her desire because now she feels safe enough to want more. This is why many women later say, it just happened. But it didn't just happen, it unfolded slowly, naturally, without pressure. And it all began with a hug that was handled correctly. In the next part, we will go even deeper into emotional hunger, into why women pull back after opening, into the illusion of the friend zone, and into the masculine presence that turns vulnerability into longing. There is a moment every woman reaches after she opens, a moment of hesitation. This is where most men get confused. She hugged you first, she softened, she let herself feel something. And then she pulls back. Men assume this means disinterest. It doesn't, it means fear. Female vulnerability is not linear. It opens, then retreats, then opens again. Not because she is playing games, but because desire makes her feel exposed. Understand this. When a woman feels something deeply, her instinct is not to rush forward. Her instinct is to protect herself. So when she withdraws after closeness, she is not rejecting you. She is checking whether you can survive her distance without punishing her for it. This is where emotional hunger appears. Most women are starved for safe intensity. They want closeness, but they are terrified of losing control inside it. So they pull back to breathe, to regulate, to see if the man in front of them will collapse without access to her. And here is the brutal truth. Men who chase at this moment destroy attraction. Men who demand reassurance kill desire. Men who emotionally confront her make her shut down. Why? Because female desire is shy. It does not respond to pressure. It responds to invitation. This is where the illusion of the friend zone is created, not because she never desired you, but because you couldn't tolerate her pacing. Women don't friend zone men they desire. They safety zone men who feel emotionally unstable. When she steps back, she is asking, will you still be grounded when I'm not giving you warmth? This is the real test, not how you act when she is close, but how you remain when she creates space. The masculine presence that women crave does not chase reassurance. It does not interrogate silence. It does not punish distance. It stays open without leaning forward. That steadiness does something powerful. It allows her to return on her terms with more desire. Now let's talk about the darker layer beneath this dynamic. Many women have learned, often painfully, that opening their hearts leads to disappointment. They've been touched and then emotionally abandoned, desired and then dismissed, wanted physically but not held emotionally. So when she hugs you first, she is stepping into old territory, and when she pulls back, she is remembering old wounds. Your job is not to fix her. Your job is not to convince her. Your job is to be the exception by remaining unchanged. Consistency is erotic to a wounded nervous system because inconsistency is what hurt her. When you don't react to her retreat, you become safe again, and safety invites desire to return stronger. This is where longing is born. Longing does not come from constant closeness. It comes from contrast, presence, then space. Connection, then silence. When you allow that rhythm, her emotions have room to grow. She begins to miss the calm she felt with you. She begins to crave the way her body relaxed. She begins to associate you with emotional regulation, and that association is deeply intimate. Women do not desire men who overwhelm them. They desire men who make them feel centered. Now here is where many men sabotage everything. They take her vulnerability personally. They think, if she wanted me, she wouldn't pull back. But female desire doesn't work on logic. Works on safety. When you stay grounded during her withdrawal, you tell her, I am not dependent on your warmth. I am not threatened by your space. I am still here, unchanged. That message allows her to step deeper next time because now she trusts you with more of herself. This is how intimacy deepens without force. This is how sexual tension matures. This is how a hug becomes longing. Women fall not when men push forward, but when men stop collapsing backward. And eventually something shifts. Her returns become slower but deeper. Her touch becomes more intentional. Her pauses become heavier because now she is no longer testing. She is choosing. In the final part, we will talk about the kind of man a woman finally surrenders to, why emotional safety turns into sexual openness, and how masculine presence becomes irresistible without effort. There comes a moment when a woman stops testing, not because she is certain, but because she is tired of resisting what she already feels. This is the moment most men never reach, not because women don't want them, but because they never become the kind of presence a woman can finally let go with. Female surrender is not submission, it is trust without defense. And trust is earned, not through words, not through promises, but through emotional consistency. A woman does not surrender to excitement, she surrenders to stability, but not the boring kind, the grounded kind, the kind of man who does not chase her emotions and does not retreat from them either. The man who stays the same when she is warm and when she is distant. This is where intimacy transforms, because now her body no longer feels the need to protect her heart. And when protection drops, desire deepens. Let's talk about what this looks like. Her touch becomes slower, more deliberate. Her hugs linger without uncertainty. She no longer pulls away quickly because she no longer needs to. She feels held even when you are not touching her. And that is the most intimate state a woman can reach. Most men think intimacy begins in the body. For women, it begins in the nervous system. When her nervous system feels calm around you, her desire no longer feels risky, it feels natural. This is why women open sexually only after emotional steadiness is proven, not explained, not claimed, proven. And here is the darker truth. A woman does not give herself fully to the man she is most attracted to. She gives herself to the man she feels safest losing control with, because desire is chaotic. And women fear chaos unless it is contained. The man who can contain her emotions without controlling them becomes irresistible, not because he tries to be, but because he doesn't need to be. This is masculine presence, quiet, unreactive, deep. Masculine presence does not demand access, it invites openness. And when a woman senses that she is free to come closer without being consumed, she stops holding back. This is where sexuality becomes effortless, not rushed, not forced, but mutual. Now understand this clearly, women don't open all at once, they open in layers. Each layer is guarded until the previous one is respected. That first hug was a layer. Handled well, it led to emotional trust. Emotional trust led to longing. Longing led to desire without fear. This is how real intimacy is built, not in moments, but in how moments are handled. A woman never forgets how a man responded when she was vulnerable. Never. She may forget what you said. She may forget what you did, but she will remember how safe she felt wanting you, and that feeling becomes attachment, not the anxious kind, the calm kind. This is why the most powerful men are not the loudest, not the most aggressive, not the most sexual. They are the most centered. They do not chase desire. They create a space where desire feels allowed. And when a woman enters that space, she does not rush, she stays. So when a woman hugs you first, understand what is truly happening. She is not asking for more. She is asking, can I trust you with what I'm beginning to feel? And the man who answers that question without words becomes the man she no longer wants to resist. Because in the end, women don't fall for men who pursue them. Women fall for men who remain steady while they fall themselves.